Hello, everybody.
Mhm.
We're going to give everybody about a minute to join. We're so excited to have you with us today for this really exciting conversation about AI and the event industry and your business. We have an awesome panel. We're going to introduce everybody in just a second. And if you don't mind, put in the chat where you're zooming in from. We always like to hear across the country, across the world, know where you're joining us from. So I think we'll get started. My name is Lauren. I'm the VP of Marketing at PartySlate. We are so excited to have you here with us today to chat all things AI. I have an amazing panel of industry experts. I'm going to let you guys introduce yourself before we get started. So Akeshi, can we start with you?
Yeah. Hi, I'm Akashia Kinshaya. I'm the founder and CEO of Kesh Events, a planning and design firm based in Chicago, but we work globally, and also CEO of The Art of Celebrating magazine. Excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
Love it. We're happy you're here. Jen, you want to go next?
Sure. Jen Gould. I'm from Jen Gould Event Design in New York, founder and creative director. And we specialize in just, event design, transformation of space. And we are excited to be here today with you. And thank you for having us.
Thank you for joining us. And last but not least, Mark, please tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay, Mark from Total Entertainment, all about New York originally, now living in Jersey and having fun in the event production business. We love what we do.
That's awesome. And for those of you that might not be familiar with PartySlate, hopefully many of you are. We are a photo-rich platform that connects the top vendors and venues across the country and the world with people planning events of all kinds. So not just weddings, corporate events, holiday parties, baby showers, milestone birthdays, any type of event that you could need to book one of your amazing businesses. We want to help people planning events do just that. So we are excited to get started. For those of you that are just joining, we're excited to chat all things AI with this amazing panel. So we are going to get started. We're going to do a little context setting, just what is AI first. I know many of us pretend to be experts. Nobody is truly an expert in AI. It's ever changing, constantly developing, but we're going to do our best to share a little bit about that with you. And then we're going to spend a lot of time in how AI can help your business. I have a bunch of questions for our panelists on this, and then some real world applications for you, and then an action plan to get started. And as always, with any of our Digital Day webinars, we have amazing resources for you after this is over. So we'll be reaching out with that as well. So not to worry, we'll send out this deck. No need to take notes. Better to just engage, pop some questions in the chat, and we'll get going. So first, what is AI? It's a very heavy question, but really in its simplest terms, it's the ability of a digital computer or a computer controlled by a robot to perform tasks commonly associated with intelligent beings or humans, if you will. So probably the most familiar, and Jen, you were just mentioning this, is ChatGPT or something called Midjourney that many of you might be familiar with. That's generative AI. Chatbots are another type, AI assistants, Siri or Alexa, self-driving vehicles, which I won't even attempt to talk about today, but those are some examples of different types of AI. Are there any for the panelists? Are there any, just to shout it out, things that you use every day? We're going to get into the specifics, but any that you guys love and use?
ChatGPT for sure.
Yeah.
Right. And
Probably
I think
the most familiar.
a lot of people from a business perspective are going to start using Google. Google has their own Bard. Amazon's coming up with one. And if you go on the news every day, they're going to be promoting it. So like you said, there's a lot of stories, which we'll talk about coming up.
Yeah, everything's ever changing. We do a lot with Midjourney right now for the visual world in our world. So it's been really effective.
That's awesome. Yeah, there's so many. These are just a few that we're going to name. So we really want to get into the core and spend most of our time in how can AI help your business? How can it make your life easier, further the growth of your company? So we outlined a few ideas, and then we're going to actually do a little demo of ChatGPT. I know most of you have probably seen it. And then we're going to turn it over to the panelists. Lots of questions for you guys. So the first couple is saving time on sales and marketing. So this might be the most intuitive, the most obvious for some people: copywriting, blog post writing, prompting social media posts, proposal editing, proofreading your contracts, things like that, generating new ideas. So Jen, I know you talked about Midjourney, creating images for mood boards, design concepts, iterating on themes or thinking of new themes, And then streamlining processes. So Akeshi, before you were talking about, you know, kind of your personal assistant, like that's the perfect example. It can just make your life easier. So before we get into the details, I did want to do a little demo of ChatGPT, and I'm going to ask some of our panelists to help me out here. And whoops. Here we go. Let's reshare. Okay, so this is what ChatGPT looks like for those of you that might not be familiar. It's very simple. I saved a couple of my searches over here. It shows my personal and professional life. So toddler gift ideas all the way to, you know, different US cities with household incomes. So anybody on the panel, what's something that I could search for that maybe you guys do in your everyday life or in your business life?
So first, I use 4.0.
Okay.
There's two versions. The 4.0
Yes.
is smarter, faster, more efficient. So I think you can swap it and change from 3.5. There you go, 4.0. Or
You have to pay for it.
it's fine.
So I
Either
should
way.
do that. I should do that, and I will after this. But for the purposes of right now, I'm going to use, so to Akeshi's point, there are different versions and they're coming out with new versions pretty much every single day. So for now, I'm going to use this. I would recommend, just like Akeshi, this must be outdated, upgrading to that 4.0 version.
One of the searches that we did in our office the other day, since we're in New York and Fashion Week just finished and the VMAs, we would say, what were the trends that were happening in Fashion Week? Because a lot of our clients are always watching Fashion Week, and it gave us the opportunity to pull those trends out and now present them to people who are having an event, whether it's corporate client or a social client.
So this is an interesting result, actually. So sometimes what will happen with ChatGPT is you, Mark, might be smarter than ChatGPT is still. They can't necessarily predict things or have access to data outside of what's been inputted into the system. So this is actually a great example that sometimes you will get an example just like this, and it can't help you. But usually ChatGPT can help you.
So do an easier one. Do a, you know, give me a report on the top largest venues in New York today.
That's perfect.
You
So
know,
let's
and that's
say largest wedding venues in New York City. And as you can see, if you do one right after the other, it'll just keep populating for you. So this is kind of unbelievable. This is a computer. This is a robot, remember, that's just aggregating all of this data, all of this information to very quickly populate all of these very large venues. So this is just an example. If you maybe aren't based in New York, like some of our panelists are, and you're doing a destination event and you're curious just to get yourself started, what are some venues I could start thinking about? That's how I love to use ChatGPT, just to kind of get me started if I'm stuck or if I'm not sure where to start. So let's do one more.
But freeze something about. Lauren, I want to say something. You know, your opening line said it saves you time. Mm-hmm. If you would have gave this to an intern, like in the early days of your business, and said, "Find me the top things," would have been a 3-hour project, and they would have came back with web links and things like that. This was done in 10 seconds. That's the definition of ChatGPT. 10 seconds versus 3 hours of having an intern do something like this.
That's exactly right. It really is such a time saver. I agree. So let's do write me a social media post about a wedding in the Hamptons that was in an outdoor. I was just in the Hamptons for an outdoor tented wedding this weekend. So, and it's even using emojis, which is kind of unbelievable. So if you want to post on social media, you have a photo that you're really excited about, and you just don't have the time to write a caption, look at what it just did. It got you started. You certainly, a recommendation I'm sure many of us share is to edit it. You want to make it your own. You want to make it sound like your brand voice. But, you know, to Mark's point, it just generated all of this copy that might have taken you 30 minutes or an hour to come up with something as a starting point. So it's pretty amazing.
Anything else? It was there at the same wedding you were at. That's amazing.
I know, it knew everything about it. Look at that.
Real.
Okay, so let's get back into it. And we have a lot of questions for our panelists now. So we did a little demo. That's a little inside look into ChatGPT. To Akeshi's point, please download the latest version. It's just better, faster, you know, like she mentioned. So really getting into it, Jen, let's start with you. What are some areas in the event industry that you think will be most impacted by AI? That's something a lot of people on the Zoom are probably wondering, like, it can save me time, it can do a lot of these things, but what's going to be impacted about my job, about my company? Talk to us a little bit about that.
Well, look, we're all coming from different parts of the industry, and I can speak to the design end of it. And obviously there's so many different facets of what AI can do. But for the design world, what it does for us and the way that we are able to embrace it, and we are a very technologically savvy business. We use a lot of, 3D animation, 3D modeling, all kinds of fabrication in-house. But with that said, there's a lot that goes into that. So I have a whole team of designers. And for us, writing and coming up with concepting could take, weeks, hours upon hours. So when you're at the onset, and where it becomes, I think, a great time saver and also becomes more efficient in the business is if you take your initial conversation that you've had with your client and you walk away with concepts of what it is that they're kind of visualizing. You can actually input that into what we use as Midjourney and write a description. It doesn't have to, that's where it doesn't have to be fluffy. The more concise you are in Midjourney, the better you're going to get results of what it is that you're looking for. And we can create mood boards in a fraction of the time that we could do it before, because it's not about looking online and saying, okay, what's on Pinterest and what's over there. It's really coming up with creating and generating new ideas. So even though you might be using AI is a tool. So it's not replacing a person, it's not replacing a human in our case, but it is helping us as a jumping off point so that it's an amazing way that we can brainstorm together and just kind of look at things that we may never have thought of before.
I love that. Thinking about it as a tool, as an enhancement, if you will, to your core business. Akeshi, is that how you think about AI? And when was the first time you used an AI tool for business? And what's your perspective on this sort of beginning journey of using it for business?
I started using it like months ago, like when it became a thing, because I try new things. I'm always happy to test it out myself. But the way I approach it is this, first it's an assistant, to her point. It's not a replacement, it's there to assist. It's also not magic. You have to kind of guide it. So the way you just used it was a totally write me an Instagram post, right? But if I were to add to that, I would say sometimes you have to help it help you, because it doesn't know you. It doesn't know anything about your brand voice. So when you write your draft, I use it to make my draft better. So the more you write, the more it understands your language, your brand, your direction, and I think more specifically your brand voice and your target audience, right? Because everyone, I could be a wedding planner. There are also different wedding planners with different target audiences. So when I'm more specific, it's able to edit to me. So now, because I've been using it for months, it knows my brand, it knows my direction, it knows my choice of words. So when I don't ask for a brand new content. I'll write something and say, rewrite this for me. And if I don't like it, I'll ask for another version, and I'll ask for, it could like regenerate new things for you. And I just piece it together. So quite honestly, if you go through my social media post, it's helped me for the past like 5 months or 4 months, all the way back between my reels and my social media. And also for blogging, like it's not replacing the work. You have to do the work. You have to think of ideas. Of course, you can go into AI and say, give me 5 top blog ideas for my blog, but you have to be more specific, because you have to, again, help it help you. So if you give it a small paragraph, it'll go crazy, but it's following your lead, right? So you have to teach it. It's kind of like when you hire someone, they have to get to know your brand. They have to get to know your brand voice. And it's very smart. It'll pick it up. So I would say, start with you, write your copy. Don't worry if it sounds stupid or it doesn't make sense. It'll help you make sense of it. And over time, you're going to teach it to get to know you, and it'll work excellently for website copy. So for example, your website, you can go in and say, rephrase my website header. This is my current one, versus like, write me a header. It doesn't know what you're talking about. It doesn't know your target audience. But if you give it something and say, write a better copy for this particular audience. So I'll say things like, my target audience is blah, 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 blah. Write me a better header, and it would literally knock it out. So you have to kind of give it prompts and very keywords, direction. And then same thing.
So to your point, some people might use it as a starting point, like I was demoing with ChatGPT. You have another great point. Some people may have their starting point and they need an editor, or they need it to be enhanced, or they need some additional suggestions, which is sort of, it's a different approach, but it's equally as valuable.
Yeah, and it's quicker too. So like even same thing for proposals. You have a draft and say, write me a better draft. It'll give you a better. So we just sound smarter and more professional with AI. Doesn't
Yeah.
hurt.
Can't hurt. Mark, talk to us a little bit about anything on the screen or anything that's not on the
Yeah,
screen.
so if you look at your opening sentence, how can AI help your business? So like a real life example, my son went into business, he just raised capital, and he came to me and he said, I'm interviewing public relation firms to put out the news about my business. And most of the firms came back and said, you have to do a 3-month retainer at $5,000 a month. And that's pretty much what you always hear. And I said to him, I said, write the article yourself, put it up in ChatGPT, and go on PR Newswire, pay the fee to be on PR Newswire, cost him maybe less than $500. Got 3 articles: Billboard, The Daily, and Yahoo Finance, all on the
Wow.
opening business. So where in the old days you would, so some people will use it to fix a website. I'm telling you, you could use it to save money and promote your own business.
Mhm.
And that PR Newswire was enabled him to send his opening article to all the news outlets out there, like USA Today and everything like that. And that's how they get most of their solicitation.
I
So
love that.
he didn't have to hire a professional PR person to write it. ChatGPT wrote it, saved him money, and he just used it to the next step.
That's amazing.
And the result is it got 3 articles, so it was good.
Right. It can really pay off in ways that maybe just solo it might not have. Another way to think about it, I always have ChatGPT open just on my desktop. Sometimes I use it in place of Google. Like, I don't know about you guys, but when you search something on Google, like I had household income, the cities with the most household income in the United States, there's thousands of results on Google as opposed to one result that ChatGPT gives you, or to Akashi's point, a revised result that ChatGPT can give you. It's kind of like working with a personal assistant. You can revise it, you can ask for a redo. So I find it to be a little less overwhelming than Google also.
Right. And I think also it's like, a couple of years ago, I remember talking to Jen because we work a lot in the same field. And I was amazed that she was an expert at Photoshop, but it took a skill. You have to take time to Photoshop something out. We wanted this picture, but somebody's in the background photobombing it, and we had to get it out because it could have been a sales tool. Nowadays, through AI, Photoshop has like a beginner model. You basically circle it with a lasso, and it's a skill. You can go on YouTube and learn it in a half an hour. And it basically tells Photoshop to take out the person in the background that's ruining my picture. And now your picture's ready to go.
Right.
Again,
now it's perfect. Exactly as I want.
But all through the AI features that these companies, even, everybody in our world is using Canva every day. Canva is starting to offer AI tools. They're all tying it in as different applications. So you got to keep your eyes open and continue to figure out how it betters your sales tools and saves you money.
I love that. And I would imagine everybody that's on the Zoom today and all of us, you have small businesses, you have booming small businesses in the event industry. You want to focus on booking more clients, generating revenue. That's your end goal. Can anybody feel free to chime in? Talk to me a little bit about how AI can help you do that. Like, how does it take things off your plate in a way that allows you to focus on your core business, grow your business, expand your business? What are some examples of that?
I mean, I can just speak to it across the board. I mean, we use it both for visual, with mood boards and all of that from the beginning, but we also do it with proposal writing. So things that would have taken us, I'm looking at it as an efficient form of a time-saving element for us initially at the onset of our interactions with our clients, so that the hours and hours that we would spend on the proposal writing and the design concepting at the onset is really coming down to a fraction of time of what it used to be. And as far as helping you with your bottom line, if you can get your proposals out to your clients that much faster, and you can create an exciting, unique presentation for them to look at, that's more enticing. And I have to say that we have just won, I would say, 4 jobs recently by using working with the AI tools for both our proposals and for our presentations. And I was personally so impressed by what we were able to create and what we were able to communicate. Our job, our world is very visual, and I'm very tactile, and we build and we create things, and it's very hard for people to read writing on a page to understand what is in like my head or my designer's heads. And this is a tool that enables us to actually tell our story and to tell it in a really exciting and effective and efficient way. So that's how we are embracing it right now.
I love that. It frees you up to do more of the important work, more of what you want to do. It saves you time, all the things that we've already talked about. Really, that's how you get to the bottom line, is by doing things faster.
Right. From our
Yeah.
business, we're telling people that we're using AI as part of their activations. So we're in the event production business, but if I'm doing a photo concept for Spotify or Google as an event, and I'm telling them I'll take 1,000 photos that night, and you only have to type your phone number in once, and then AI will pick you up by facial recognition, and you'll get all the photos to your phone. They say that's great. I love it. I love the technology. Okay, so now it's another $1,500 to do that, because again, technology, it costs money and time to do it. But at the end of the day, they're feeling like they're buying the most up-to-date model. It's like the same reason why people will go out and buy the Apple 15 that's coming out, the iPhone 15. People want technology. So if you incorporate it into your business, you know, you're able to stand on a soapbox and say, I need to charge a little more to do it. And as long as people feel they're getting a return on their investment, you're going to be able to get it. So we see more money being sold on specific jobs when we tie in AI.
I love that. Akeshi, what about you?
Yeah, I would say if anything, the biggest advantage for me is time saving, just like what Jen said. It's a huge time saver. And especially for things like writing. So for just to give an example, I know a lot of people when I coach, they tell me like, oh, I spend like an hour trying to write one caption on social media. You're like, is it dumb? Does it sound smart? I feel like it doesn't make sense. So you have a draft just sitting. You could just plug it into your app or in your computer and say, write me a 2 versions, and it'll whip it up within seconds.
Mhm.
And just right there and then your post is done. But going back to, I would say, proposals and emails to clients, it's a huge help, because you can ask it to write your series of emails. And I don't think people understand this. Like, it's not one email. So I can say, hey, for planners or whoever, truly, we get leads, right, that come in. And we know that email 1 is never the solution to closing the client. You need a series of emails. So you can tell your Chat GPT, I need to name mine. I don't have a name for her yet, but I will. But I can
We all
say,
should name ours. I love it.
whatever her name is, right? Write me a series of 5 emails for lead generation or for lead follow-ups. Email 1, and literally I would type what I'm saying. Email 1 is introducing us, what we do, and I would give it 3 to 4 time and dates and then just say add a call to action. It's good. And then also write 3 follow-up emails, and it'll give you a whole series of emails. You literally just have to copy that, put it in a Google Doc, and now you have your SOP for your team to follow, right? So there's a general brand voice. If it doesn't fit, have it rewrite, say, change that, speak specifically to discerning clients, for example, like that would be my target audience, and it'll literally whip it up for you. You can have version 1, version 2, maybe 1 for destination weddings, 1 for design, 1 for planning. Like me, we plan and design. So our email templates are different. You can literally sit for an hour and have all your templates written, saved in a document, and then you just copy and paste, or you save them in your email. That's done. That's hours and hours of time saved, just to, get more business in. You can literally use it for anything. And I think, again, when we get out of our heads of like, it's a computer or it's replacing, it's not replacing anything. It's just making our lives easier and saving us time to do whatever you want.
Well, I think what you said.
From just one thing that Akeshi, you mentioned that we haven't touched on is many people on the Zoom have teams. It's not just them individually. And if you create those templates, those SOPs, those procedures, it really is helpful for brand integrity to put your best foot forward as a business. And you're basically setting the tone for all of your team members to be consistent and approach with the same, brand voice and brand tone. So that's such a great point. Sorry, Mark, I cut you off. Go ahead.
No, I was just saying earlier in the conversation, Akeshi said that it's her assistant. So instead of calling it artificial intelligence, it's your assistant. It's really what it is. The A stands for assistant. And if you use it right, it's probably the best tool you're going to find today. And it's only going to get better, obviously.
We've got to name her. That's everyone on the call. That's your first piece of homework. But we actually have one question coming in from the Q&A, and this is something I think about a lot, and it's getting smarter and smarter. Can you guys talk a little bit about how reliable is the information that you get back from ChatGPT? Do you trust it? Do you feel like it has improved since you started using ChatGPT? And how do you ensure that the content that you're putting out there represents you and is reliable and is valid?
Okay, I'll just jump in there.
Jen, please, anybody.
Well, I mean, I'm not using it necessarily as a tool replacing data. So the way that we are using it it's really what we are putting into it, and refining it is what we're getting out. So it's not like we're taking knowledge, or, everybody uses AI in a different way, and they use it how it's best suited for their business, their industry. So, and our industry is so huge. So the way that Akeshi uses it, the way that Mark uses it is different than the way that I use it. So, there's not one blanket statement of saying what you're getting is what you're putting out there. You have to curate it also. So it's not, it's like when I'm very old. So when I was back in the day of graphic design, when I was at Parsons School of Design, I was like at the onset of like the first iteration of Photoshop. I know I'm dating myself, but what I would get people saying is, oh my God, it's amazing what computers can do. Well, no, it's actually not what the computer can do. And it's not what AI can do. It's about what you can do with it. And that is a huge difference for all of this. Because your assistant is not going to be your assistant without you guiding her or him.
And I think, there's all these separate from this industry. There are articles about plagiarism and all of these things. And that's the first mistake, is that you need to take what it's giving you and make sure that you're making it your own. Akeshi, you were talking about that. Mark, you've talked about it. I think that it's a starting point, or it's an editor, or it's an assistant. It's not a replacement for anything that you might do yourself. So great point.
Right. And if
I
you're
think
gonna
they're
put that
responsible. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
no, you go.
Oh, I was going to say, like, we have to remember we're accountable for our business. Just like when you hire someone, you can't just rely solely on what they give you. You as the business owner, double check if it doesn't make sense. You're like, right? So it's just like Google. We don't trust everything on Google. It's not the complete answer, but there has to be a percentage of accountability where you're like, I don't know. Or if you're not sure, don't use it. Like if it gives me top venues, I'm like, I don't know about this venue, then I don't include it. Or I say, give me more. So it's not, like you said, completely replace. It's just there to assist, to save time, and then you still have to do the work. So,
Mark.
I was just going to say, I think it's also important, and we talked about this in our pre-production call, that if you're first learning about AI, you have to kind of work backwards. So there's 3 types. ChatGPT is just one of the first movers in the field. It's just a type of, there's 3 types of AI. You have text AI, which is ChatGPT is the leader. You put in a question, it gives you an answer, and it's only going to get better. That's the text one. Then you have imagery. You put pictures in and you're asking it to search for more pictures, and that's like a mid-journey. And Jen uses that a lot, like she said. And there's a couple other competitors in that field. And then the next thing that's coming down the pipe is going to be video AI. There's going to basically be, newscasters, and it looks like people, avatars that are going to speak on your behalf. You're going to be able to create like your own ambassador of your brand, and it's going to all come out from video. So you have text, you have imagery, and you have video, and they're all fed script through prompt engineers, and engineers, people like that. And the more they get smart, the more information you're going to get. But, so, Akeshi uses it for text, for writing. Jen uses it more for visual. So that's the beauty of it. There's 3 different zones of it, let's just say, under the umbrella of AI. I just don't want people to think AI is ChatGPT. ChatGPT is just a company that had first mover advantage.
And ChatGPT is definitely, if you're new on the call, new to AI, it's definitely a good starting point. Does anybody have a recommendation for, we talked a lot about ChatGPT. Is there another area, Jen, you talked about Midjourney. Is there another example of a way to get started in AI? If you've never used any tools before, what's a good way to get started? Jen, maybe you could talk a little bit more about Midjourney to start.
Yeah, I mean, Midjourney is actually not, is not the easiest user interface. So it's not, and things are getting easier and easier, like with each passing, month. I mean, we just actually started using something called Open Art, and you can actually make a sketch. I don't know if you guys are familiar with this. So the way that we're using that is, okay, I want to do a centerpiece and I want it to look a little bit like this and a little bit like this. And you take that sketch and say the materials you wanted to generate it in, and it will give you back like some, very cool imagery from what you're just starting with just a concept drawing, even from the angle that you're drawing it in, if you can do something in a little bit of 3D. So the technology is getting smarter. You just need to see what's, it can be a little daunting to work in Midjourney. The reason that we do it over, let's say, Dali or something, is it's photorealistic, so that what we're able to produce and utilize for our needs is what we're using it for. But I think that, the whole idea and the whole concept of AI in and of itself is like, it's foreign to us right now, right? Not those who, and it's new, right? We've been only using it for just a matter of months, but with each passing month, and it's going to be an easier user interface for people to use, to make it more approachable. And like I said, I would maybe start with Dolly over Midjourney, just as an easier entry point into it.
That's great.
Good.
Any others? Otherwise, I guess,
like all the areas you see it are like, sometimes you have an existing platform. Like if you maybe manage your website on Squarespace or Canva, they have AI integrated. So like if you're working on your website, instead of actually going to ChatGPT, you can actually ask it certain things inside Squarespace, inside Canva, in their prompts to kind of help you. So if you're even working on your website, it's simple things. Again, I think it's just to help you become more efficient and faster and less overwhelmed with little things.
yeah, I think also,
yeah,
or big things. That's true. But I think keeping your eyes open to what is going to emerge day after day. Like I just saw Zoom came out with an integration that now you can update your Zoom and have some AI options. So I think it's changing just so rapidly. So being open, and I think I don't know if you guys felt this way when you first got started, but I felt like I needed to just rip off the Band-Aid and just do it and get started and practice. It's like any other skill. You kind of have to get more comfortable with it, learn it, and just do it so that you can see how comfortable you are with it and what tools might work for you. I think one next question is the future of AI. Now, none of us know, obviously. I think none of us could have predicted we would be where we are a couple years ago with AI already. I guess, Akeshi, I'll start with you. What do you envision for the near future and then the far future of AI in terms of the event industry and what it could mean for these event professionals and their businesses?
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like there are two sectors. Like for me, we use it just for simple things, texting or word generation. And then there's also with the images, and everyone is like, what is it going to look like? Or Instagram post going to be real or not, right? In the end, I feel like what's going to hold the most is where you shine, your talent. If we focus on our own unique skills, you wouldn't worry so much about AI, because in the selling process, people buy into your expertise. AI cannot replace your expertise. It's just going to help move your business forward quicker. But in the end, like, let's not forget, there is talent required to do what we do in any field, right? So our industry is going to move faster in terms of things that go out, websites, posts. It's going to be kind of like how influencer marketing became like just overwhelming. It may feel like that, but I think the reminder is like, your expertise, your talent, where you shine, your unique skills are still relevant, and it's never going to go away. And I think that would start to shine more as AI. It's literally going to be as simple as Google. Like it's
Eventually,
Google like this thing, and now it's like a simple tool, right? Eventually, once we embrace it and get used to it, it'll be just as simple as Google. It wouldn't be as complicated as it sounds.
I love that. Like a couple years from now, looking back, we're going to laugh at this conversation that we ever felt overwhelmed, even though it feels incredibly overwhelming right now. So Mark, go ahead. What do you think about
I was just saying, it's like, I love watching new kids come out of college and sending in their resume. They're the same age as my son and daughter. And they always put on the bottom their skills. And, now you see I'm skilled in Canva, I'm skilled in this. And you just in the next month, you're going to see I'm skilled in AI. And they are really going to be that way, because they're going to learn it in school. They're going to be using it, and it's going to be another skill. So as you hire new people, they're going to be coming aboard with all of these skills and knowing about other services besides the popular names. And that's why, like you said, Lauren, like if you could dive in now and learn it and spend some time when you have some free time, it's great. It's an extra asset under your belt. It's only going to, and it does streamline time. I mean, for our business, we're looking at it, yes, we want it to help us write papers and do things like that. but it's more about how could I use it as part of activations live at events and sell it. The other day we were at the Rainbow Room and somebody said, could, you know, it was Fashion Week, could you do like an AI concept around like pop art? So we had a roaming photographer take pictures. In the old days, you would need a green screen, or you need somebody sitting there in post-production doing it quickly, and then you have to wait to the end of the night to get your picture. We basically did it in the camera, programmed the language, and all of a sudden you take a picture and it pops up that you're QR'd like an Andy Warhol photo or a pop art photo, and then QR code pops up with it, individual. Put your phone up, it's on your phone in 5 seconds.
Wow.
So it's great, you know.
That's amazing.
So for us, again, that's the more tech, the more we could charge for services, and the more our clients think they're cutting edge. So it kind of
The
ties up.
tech will help the businesses themselves. And to your initial point, Mark, you're not hiring ChatGPT, you're not hiring Midjourney, you're hiring somebody with a skill set to use those tools. So like, I think that is such a key point, is that it's not replacing people, and embracing it now is the opportunity so that you can be ahead of the game. So I love that you said that. Jem, what about you in the future for your business or for the industry?
You know, I think in the future, we just have to embrace technology and see, you know, how it comes. If you want to put it into ChatGPT and say, what is AI going to look like in a year from now? I mean, it's not going to be able to generate that. It couldn't even tell you what the
I didn't even know the
fashion
Fashion Week trends. Yeah.
before. But you know, the way that I see it is we are getting better at it. So we are getting better at the prompts and everything, the way that we're using it. So the other thing is to keep in mind, if we're fabricating these fantasy worlds that basically are our events, it can't just be like, take this like kind of, you know, fantasy world that the AI is creating. You have to be able to take elements of it. It's just another design tool, and we have to be able to fabricate it. So it might look good on paper, it may look good conceptually, but if we can't build it, and if it can't, you know, be suspended from a ceiling or emerge from a table, then it really is useless. So you have to know what you're doing and know how to use it and hone in how it's best going to be used for your business.
I love that.
I think it's funny. You could also take as something funny as you could take everyday things that you do at your home, because everybody has a Google Home or an Alexa, and then your first slide, you said those are the starting points of where AI was coming from, and you could kind of mimic it and do it at work. So for example, I yelled downstairs to my wife, I need toothpaste. And all of a sudden I start hearing her say, Alexa, order me toothpaste. And I'm like, and it just started realizing, and I'm like, where's all this stuff go? And then she shows me on her phone, it builds a things to do note for her on her Alexa. And then she goes to the supermarket and everything's there. So I'm screaming at her, she's screaming at Alexa, boom. But you can do the same thing at work. If you're working on a job and you have to build something that you're doing and you need 10 elements for it, yell at Alexa. You could put Alexa on your desk and say, transfer it over to a notepad. And now all of a sudden you got it as a notepad. Because I'm like a one finger typer, so I'm never going to be fast, but my mouth is fast. So now I talk more to my home Alexa, and that's the way my, assistant kind of follows me. So
I love that.
Take what you're doing at home, what your family's doing, and mimic it at work. And it's fun.
That's a perfect segue. And the last question I had for this section is,
I like that. You're getting some good stuff, by the way, on your chats.
oh, I can't see the chat. So
55 people are drawing questions, so keep them coming.
Oh, awesome. And we're answering as many as we can. We have so much to get through. And remember, we're going to follow up with the deck, and any questions you have, we can certainly follow up after this. The last question for this section, because we are running up on time and we have a little more to cover, but you mentioned Alexa and the grocery list, and I use ChatGPT. I think you saw earlier. I'm on the birthday party circuit, and if I buy one more Barbie, I'm just gonna like lose my mind. So I was really looking for toddler birthday party ideas and birthday gift ideas. It really can save you time in your personal life also in a way that leaves more time for your professional life. So do you guys use AI? Yeah, do you guys use AI in your personal life at all?
Yeah, I'll tell you a good one. Travel itinerary.
Oh, I love that.
Good. So like we had we had a wedding in Europe. So we were traveling, but I did squeeze in some vacation in between. So you can actually have it say, I'm traveling to Lake Como, for example, from this state to this state. Build me an itinerary. And within seconds, you're gonna have all the things, or like I went to visit the top 5 villas. It'll literally tell you restaurants, bars, hotels, and plan itineraries for you. It's beyond work. It's a lifesaver and time saver. Yeah. It can even build it can do a lot of things. I think you just have to test your tool and play with it, and of course double check and fact check, but you can have it do a lot of things, even recipes, because on the lifestyle side, we do a lot of cocktails, a lot of recipes. You can have it write you like I want to make a summer salad, write me 3 recipes. It'll whip it up for you in minutes. I go down to even like Nigerian food and recipes. It'll give me recipes. So you can really do a lot of things that are just fun. It doesn't have to be business, but again, it saves you time, and it's not replacing Google, but I sometimes prefer to use it for things instead of going to Google. So there's so much, you have to just play with it and see what works.
I'm going to use it for recipes. That's a great idea. Jen, what about you?
Oh gosh, I don't really have time for a personal life, so everything is business. No,
Well,
actually we were traveling recently for business, and we had like literally, what can you do in, I think I was in Austin, Texas. What can I do if I have 6 hours here? And I just want to be able to see, the top things. And we were able to get like a response like that. So, I am honestly embracing it more for business than I am for personal use. But what I'm actually just being on this panel today and hearing how everybody uses it, it's opening my eyes to different ways that we can incorporate it into our lives. So I think it's just like so cool. I am a big believer. I'm open, and I am excited to see what next steps are in the AI world.
I think that's a perfect segue. I know there's so many comments and questions. We're going to keep going. I think the next part we really wanted to cover is just how many real world applications there are. We've just scratched the surface today on what you can do. This is just a snippet of, I think this is like the last week of AI coverage in the news, and it's just one slide. So you can only imagine if you Google AI or chatbot or Google or Bing or anything else, just how much coverage there is. So like our best advice is really to read about it, stay up to date, and obviously use it. We just spent, about 40 minutes talking about all the different ways to use it. Sometimes reading is also helpful. I find it helpful to keep up to date on all the different tools, what's happening with the different tools. It can help you decide what to use, because just the sheer amount of tools that are available to you can feel overwhelming. I don't know how you guys feel about this, if you read anything in particular, or if there's anything you found helpful to stay up to date, other than, of course, using the tools in your personal and professional lives.
I think, one other way to look at business is, we work hard, we make money, and, hopefully you want to invest your money and have it grow for you. So somebody a long time ago taught me and said, buy stocks like the way you buy groceries. If you know the product, you're going to buy it. So a long time ago, I saw Photoshop was getting popular. So you buy Adobe. Adobe's a hot stock. Same thing. If you start playing with companies like ChatGPT and other things and you see what's trending, look at it. You could invest in it at the early days because you've been using it in the early days, and maybe you'll make money even on the stock market. I mean, it's just the way the world works, and, so there's another ways to make money as a business, to use what you're touching and invest in it and become, part of it a little more.
I think that's great. Anything, Akeshi or Jen, to add?
No, I think we just have to keep up with not just AI, everything. It's not going to come to us. Sometimes we have to learn about and be open and just keep learning and listening and filtering out things that don't apply to you. Like, we don't have to do everything. You don't have to be overwhelmed by it. If it doesn't apply to me, I don't use it, and it doesn't bother me. Yeah.
That's extremely important, because it's overwhelming enough, and it can feel overwhelming to feel like you have to do everything and you have to use everything. So finding what most applies to you and your life and your business is so key.
That's so true. And it's not a replacement. It is I feel like a broker market. It is a tool. And our business has so many different facets, so that the art department uses it one way, and let's say the production department uses it in a different way. So, or, some departments aren't using it at all. So, I mean, it's just where we are today with it. And, as it becomes, I think, more user friendly, and it appears in more of the software that we're used to using, like whether it's Google or, like what Mark was saying, Photoshop, Illustrator, or graphic design software, it's incorporating into it. So it becomes much more user friendly. It's like it is going to be, we're going to flash forward, a year, 5 years from now, and this will be like, how can you believe you can actually take a picture on your cell phone?
Now look where we are. It's like such a great point.
Digital film. I mean, look at that.
So true. You need to fast forward a couple of years in your mind if you feel overwhelmed about anything with technology, and just imagine where we can be. So I want to make sure we have some time for a wrap up and a little preview of what's coming next for PartySlate. But we always like to end with an action plan, just like we talked about so much, and there's so many applications and so many tools. So if you're wondering, where should I start? Start experimenting. I think that's the most important thing. We talked a little bit about that. It feels like ripping off a Band-Aid, and it kind of is, but ChatGPT is a great place to start. You can play around with it. It's no pressure. It's really just for you and what you need. Dolly, Jen, you mentioned that there's, all these different imaging tools that you could try. Talk to your peers. Like, attending this webinar is the perfect first step. Hear from other people who are using it in their daily lives. Share what's working, what's not for you. And then brainstorm with your team. Akeshi, I love what you said about making templates and SOPs. And if you have a team, use it together and make sure you're building off of what each other is doing, and saving time as a team is really the most important thing, I think. Anything you guys would add to these 3 points? Anything else you think is a good way to get started?
I think this is a comprehensive way really to start, and just really take it at your own pace and see what works for you and what you enjoy, if you do enjoy using it.
So I guess we'll wrap up. I'll ask each of you your biggest, so it's, I think we've all mentioned it's been a very short time frame, like a span of a few months really, that we've really been immersed in the world of AI. What is your biggest learning so far in using AI in your professional life that you want to pass along to, the people that are listening right now? Jen, I'll start with you.
Great.
Or Mark, I'll start with you.
Just in my business, I'm always selling something, or in the world of new business development and talking to people. And nobody ever says to me, I want something old or something that was done yesterday. They're always like, what's new? So I have to be up to date on what's new. I have to be able to give examples, and I have to be able to tie it into activations again that we can make money on and sell as a company. So for me, it's great because it's all about being new and trendy. And I learn from speaking to my kids' friends. They'll come over their house. They always have a Mac computer, and I'll ask them questions, and all of a sudden they're showing me things. Same way I first saw ChatGPT. I was at a dinner. A young lady took it out. She just graduated Cornell, and she was in the fashion industry and had a background in coders. Coders, her model was her concept. And she was a model, but also was a coder. And she showed me how ChatGPT worked. And I'm like, I love this stuff. And as I started talking to people, I started diving more into it. So ask a lot of questions to people, just like you're doing. And, in the chat, I'm seeing people are sending in other companies that I've never even heard about to research. So, I can't wait to look at the chat and see. So whoever sent stuff in, thank you. It's great, by the way.
And we're going to send out the recording too. So I'm excited to look as well. And Mark, that's so helpful.
My deep voice on the recording, my deep voice.
All right, Jen, I'll come back to you. We gave you a breather.
Me now? Okay. I mean, as far as I'm all flustered now. You just come back to me at the end.
Okay, at the end. Okay, Akeshi.
I'll go. I would say use it with a goal in mind, right? You have a desired result when you're using it. Otherwise, it's just general. And then I would also say be specific. And I say this because as a wedding and event planner and designer, it's such a big industry. So to avoid sounding like everyone else, get specific. I write, again, I really tell my AI, like my target audience and the outcome I'm looking for. So it's able to give me better results, and I'm not frustrated with my output. So again, have your goal, know what you're looking for, and use it. Like it's revised my bio, and I was like, oh my God, I'd love this version, but I had an existing version. So use keywords. Don't be afraid to sound silly. It's just you and your AI. No one can see it, and it'll really help you out. It's a tool that helps. It doesn't not help. So utilize it.
I agree. It's a tool that you can embrace, that we have at the onset, like I was saying earlier on. And, we're in a business where nobody wants to see the same event twice, at least in my world, in our world. So you can even take elements that you've designed and created as a foundation and say, how can I push this that much further? So it's like you're reinventing your own wheel. And I think that's a really interesting way of kind of using your own talent, and how can you push it that much further. So see how it best works for you in your world. And it's here, and it's not going away. and it's
Mhm.
going to get stronger and better and more efficient. So I just say embrace it. Don't run. Try it.
I agree. As if my team is listening, as somebody who's historically resistant to new technology, I just like things the way I like them. I think it's not as hard as you might think. I think that if you just embrace it, like everybody's already said, you may find success with AI in a way that you never could have imagined, and it might open new opportunities for you and your team and your business in just a really amazing, successful way. So I want to thank all of you so much for being here. This was such an exciting conversation. I can't wait to read the chat. And we are going to be sending out all of this. We have this action plan. We have a prompt downloadable for ChatGPT that we can email out to you as well to get you started. I can't end, though, without previewing and giving a little sneak peek, and Jen is involved, to our first national premium member event that's going to be in New York this October 23rd and 24th. And Jen, I know you're doing the decor for part of it. It's going to be
Yeah.
beautiful, amazing. We are so excited. So if you're interested in attending that event, we hope you can join us. Again, it's going to be in New York City, 3 iconic venues, an amazing team with Jen and Jess Gordon as our planner, and just, it's going to be phenomenal. So have to give a little plug. It's just a few weeks away. So thank you all so much. We appreciate it. And thank you everybody for joining. See you next time.
Thanks,
Thanks for
everyone.
having me.
Thank you.